Hey, top of the morning to you. I'm Michael. Grandkids call me Roo. Thanks for being on. I haven't seen you in a while, and you haven't seen me either, right? I've been all over creation. Had a little internet to snag last week, and it's fiber optic, right? So what happens if it's fiber optic and someone steps on the cord? Well, it breaks the glass. Muzzle tough. So about three doors down, seriously, I called them finally, and they go, "We can't reset it from here. Is it my modem? Has it not been upgrading? All these things." It was just going wacky. Noticed it about a month before, but it was intermittent. Da 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 da. And everything. Could be the weather. And lo and behold, they finally said, "We're sending out a technician." And so he was supposed to come at 8 o'clock, and this was supposed to be a quick fix. And I was all set up, ready to go live last week. And he called me at about 10 to 8 and said, "I'll be there in 15 minutes. Drop what you're doing. I'm coming in." Well, I didn't see him until 2:30. In fact, I never saw him at all. And so I called his company and said, "Do you remember that guy they were sending out?" He said, "Yeah, how? We'd like to send you an evaluation of how it went." I said, Don't bother. It didn't go that well. He's not here." And they panicked and sent someone else out, who they sent the right guy. He was brilliant. Found it 400 feet down. Someone had opened the box and closed the lid and crushed a piece of the cable that comes to my house. Mm-hmm. Crazy, huh? Their little detector found that. So, high tech as much as it is. Good morning to you all. So blessed to have you on the show this morning. I posted this as mixing it up a little bit, and I'm going to, because I've been working on something else since my trip. And I went through the journal the day I got back from my trip. I came on live, and I was I'd been in bed since 4:30. I think I got in bed at 4:30 that night. Our plane was delayed more than 4 times. It was the day technology died. And so, crazy thing, it wasn't an attack. Somebody just put a block on all these things. Anything that had to do with, it was some banks. It was all one particular security thing, and they all got blocked. And so I was standing at the airline desk, and they were saying, "Just check it on your app." And everybody's going like, "Hey, the apps aren't working." And all the screens were just blue in the airport. I actually shot a photo. It was kind of funny. So you just have to keep your sense of humor, and you have to persevere. That's what we did. Got home, came up here, put together a little video about my trip, and then I don't even know if I showed that to you, but I will show you the journal again today. I laid it out here a little bit, just a little bit on that, because it affects my storytelling, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So have a pen if you want to write down a couple notes. I'm going to show you how I'm doing a couple things that I did today, a couple conversations I've had with folks. And then you saw me working on something here with the palette knife down at my desk. Let me just go here. I'm going to click on this first. There it is right there. It's just a mountain range, huh? It looks pretty cool too, doesn't it? And you saw that I didn't really pick up anything but 2 palette knives. And I know those of you who do acrylic work and oil work are always painting with great palette knives. And I've had these since I started painting, because I thought it'd be so cool. And I use them maybe once every 2 or 3 years. But I decided to do something with palette knife for a couple of reasons. One is I was doing some flowers, and I wanted the stems to be really kind of, what's a good word for this? Different than just painting with my brush. Boy, did I just mess that up. That was not creative, but that's how I wanted it. I didn't want me to see me just drag a brush down. I know you can do that, and you can take a rigger brush and drag it down the page, and but I wanted to put my palette knife in something, almost thinking it was gouache or acrylic, and just drag that down and make it a straight line. But then I wanted to wobble a little bit, and so I kind of got what I was looking for. I'm going to show you that painting too in a little bit. Then while I was sitting here, I thought, what if I did a couple mountain ranges? And I'm going to show you. There's one that I did, and here's one that I did. I'm going to do one more. This is just on drawing paper. There's the other one right there. Can you see that? Take a look. This is just one stroke. I just reach into my palette, and I just grab a little bit of this watercolor on the edge right here, just like what I want to grab. In fact, I'll do it again for you in a minute. And I'll lay that on there and just go swoop. And all of these colors is the reason I put it in this painter's tray. Actually, it's really a butcher's tray, but today it's a painter's tray. And these are the colors that I would normally use in my regular palette. Here it is right here, my Cheap Joe's Art palette, which is a 5.5 by 5.5. Don't ask me why. It fits a piece of bread. Cast iron skillet. There it is right there, made by Lodge. I think it's like $14. I wanted something that wouldn't move. These are full pans, and I just have my American Journey paint squirted all in there. And the colors that there's no warm to cool in my palette. I don't worry about that. You know, people say, oh, you must put all your warms over here and all your cools over here. And I'm thinking, you know, I'm not building an AC unit in my house. I just want the color when I look at it. I want to get in the rhythm of knowing, what's the color I use the most? Yellow. Gamboge, and it's right there in the first. This is how it sits on my desk right there. So there's my yellow. Boop, right there. What's the one you use next? Red. Boop, there it is. What's the next one? Yes, blue. So there's 2 yellows, 2 reds, and a blue. And then this is that's kind of a green gold. And then I jump back up here with an open pot, but it's got a couple little copper kettle and something else in it. But usually there's an open one here, so I can mix some yellow, red, and a little bit of a gray for my chicken feet. And then, of course, I have a little bit of Payne's Gray here just because this is a little half pan I slid down in there. Had room for 3 half pans. I don't use a lot of rose. I don't use a lot of mint. But I use a lot of turquoise, green. Here's another green. Here's a purple. This would be royal amethyst purple. This would be cad orange or Halloween orange. And then I have my black way up here. I try not to use much black. But sometimes if I'm painting bees or something like that, I'll just need some black to get in there. And so I've learned this other than just having this color wheel. Now this is more of a mess, but it works well for me because I can just, like a bee on a flower, I can just kind of go wherever I want and touch whatever. And then after about 6 months or so of this pan, there it is. You can turn it any way you want. But for me, look what I just normally did. I like it sitting this way on my desk. And I also like the fact that I've got 2 bold, a yellow right here and a green. And I like the way those go. Here's my blue right here. I put the red here because if I don't, red will take over a lot of things. And this tray, notice it's convex. Not concave, convex, and so the water rolls to the outside. So then I get all these crazy dark browns around out here. So if you haven't tried one of these yet, you might want to. I've been painting out of it this week just to give myself a change because I'm mixing it up a little bit. So there you have it. So that's a little bit of an explanation. And I'm going to paint one of these for you in just 1 second, and then move on because I'm going to do some demonstrations for you that you might go, here's why. I had a conversation with someone this week that reminded me. And she said, it's about story, and I have a hard time coming up with those stories. What a great point that was. Just the fact that, you know, I'm always thinking in story, and you have to train yourself to just think in story. Everything is a story. My trip out west was a story. My time with my granddaughter was a story. My time with my wife was a story. The food, the fact that the power went off, the most expensive hotel room we could have ever had in the history of hotel rooms, right there in the middle of Yellowstone. And what happens when we're getting ready to eat at 7:20? Boom, power goes off, no dinner, no power. By the way, there's no AC in the most expensive hotel room we've ever had. And it was 94 that day before the storm came in. And so for the next 3 hours, people are sitting around going, uh-oh, what are we going to do? It's getting dark and we don't know what to do. And so I'm thinking, I'm going to paint. They're going, you can't paint in the dark. So I took my little light. I carry a little light with me all the time, just this one here. And it is a bright little light. This is like a $12 light that just clips on. You go, well, I have one on my phone. Yeah, but I can't talk on my phone and look where I'm going at the same time. So I carry this. I look under tables. It's just an old man thing. I carry a pocket knife. It's part of my EDC, my everyday carry. I carry this. So I think what I did at the table was I reached in my bag and I took out my Leatherman and I squeezed the Leatherman on the handle like this to hold it up, turned it on, and then I took a napkin and took a chopstick and put the 2 chopsticks up, and I put a napkin over it, and I made a lamp. And we sat there and had our dinner, and then I painted underneath my lamp, just like this, just, a little light coming over, and it just, and people are going like, well, aren't you smart? And I go, no, just innovative. Just innovative. You want to always be thinking. And so, so that whole process for me was just a story. The whole thing. I just told you a story about the power goes off. And they asked me, somebody said, why do you think the power went off? And I said, bison. And they said, what? I said, bison. I came in here to have a short rib, bison short rib. They say they're the best ever. And I wanted, this thing was like this, and I wanted a bison short rib. And apparently a bison just ran into a power pole and knocked all the power out. And they went, is that true? And I went, no, I just made that up. But in my journal, I posted the number for Yellowstone Electrical Corporation. I said, here's the phone number if you want to call them. And so I literally put that in my journal. I'll show you that little sketch. Shoot, I'll just show it to you right now. Because if I don't, I'll forget this morning. And then I got to say hi to most of you anyway. So here's where we were staying in the room here. Here's some of my sketches. Here it is right here. So we're staying in across from the Old Faithful Inn, and I said, call 406-348-3411. There's the number right there. I put it out. No power, no AC, no dinner, no light, no nothing. Yellowstone Valley Electrical Corporation. And I wrote this, I saw the sketch this little buffalo run into a power pole. It says, bully. And I did that because of, Teddy Roosevelt. So this is the journal. I'll show you one last look at it before I go today. I did paint a blue buffalo on the back page, and that's for, you guessed it, Patricia Griffin, and I'm going to reach out to her, which I have not done yet. So here we go. Let me show you one of these, and I'll move on to something else. So what that got me into was story. Always find a story, and stories mostly come either in interesting things that you do or people that you bump into. So how many people are you bumping into? How much of a community are you putting together? Now, some of you have a great community, and I'm part of that community. Thank you so much, Roost Crew. One, this is a community to me, so I appreciate you all. Linda Schleitning, yes. Cindy Wiltermuth, artist. Randall Taylor Craven, yes. Trish Brown, Karen Binder, Jason. He's breaking out the knives. Annette Henson. Yeah, all you people. Marie Piker. I just saw a painting that you did on Roost Crew, and it's fantastic. It's a person's face with purples and blue. Unbelievable work. You guys are doing great stuff. Are you in a community that you get to share that, and why that person, and why that story, and why did you choose those colors? Charles Reed, who was a great painter of loose portraits, would do all these blues and purples and pinks into his paintings, and it used to blow my mind. I'm going like, and by the way, he painted with a brush like a number 8 or a number 12, and he would paint like this, and then I wash my brushes out very cleanly before I put them in the next color. He'd go, and so if you were sitting over there, he was right-handed, he'd just sling paint, and so you go like, whoa. But I love that painting, by the way, and so I'm a part of this wonderful community, and I say thank you. Bob, thank you for being on. Morning, a bit steamy in Minnesota. Bob, you got to take one of those Bob's bobbers down to the bay and put a worm on it and catch us some big old fish. Karen, let's see, Zentangle is in the house. Woo! I can't do Zentangle because I get all tangled up in it. But Susie DeLay, good morning to you. Denise Albright, always thank you for being on the show. Denise, I can tell your art a mile and a half away. You and Chris Whitaker. Sue Kane, I had been working on a poppy that I photographed in Winter Park, and I was working on some poppies and painting 4 flowers this week, connect them to bees. And then I open up Roost Crew, and you have painted a bouquet, and it is off the chain. You must use a brush that has 1 hair. I'm telling you, that is some time spent. And so I hope you have a community to share other than just showing pictures of it. I hope you have a community that surrounds you and supports you and sells your art and pays you well to buy more paper and paint and all those things. You have a gift. I just want to say that there. Thanks for watching from way down under. Gene Anthalzer, thank you for being on. Toasty Whispered Pines, Mikey Carnahan, thank you. Donna Sell Barton. I always remember Donna anytime I see a Rube Goldberg. And my last Grit magazine had a little touch of some gears and Kimberly Salowich, thank you for being on the show. June Jones, glad to have your sense of humor on. Mickey Hupp, Chris Young, Crystal it's McElhaney from Foggy, Ohio. I've been in the fog in Ohio, down around, it doesn't matter. Okay. Your journals are fabulous. Thank you very much. Michelle Stafford, I'm learning your journals tell such a personal story. Well, they have to. And I want you to tell your story in everything you paint. I wrote a comment this week that says, somebody says, all right, here we go. I want to show you how I did this, and then let's move on. So let's put on a little piece of music, because I got several things to paint today, and I'm talking away. Community, story, a couple how-tos, some tools that I'm using differently, something that I just did. Jason and I had a long conversation this week, and I was just throwing out, spitballing, as they say in the South, just creative ideas on how he can collect and connect with people in New York, and had this crazy idea. And so I tried it, and it worked for me. And I'll show you how it worked in just a second. We're going to do that too. All right, here we go. So this is, I'm just going to do this on simple, what's the word I'm trying to think of here? I'm going to do it on a piece of, let's see, this is a piece of hot press. Here, let me just turn this down like this. This is hot press paper. This is Fabriano hot press. I think this is probably Chris Whitaker's favorite paper. It's really a studio hot press. It's pretty inexpensive, but it's a good paper. I don't paint a whole lot of hot press, but when I'm doing something like this with this knife, I wanted to just drag it a little better. This is just an angled palette knife, a very inexpensive grade. Don't buy ones with bone handles and all those fancy things. You don't need them. You just need good quality tools. So what I'm going to do is, I've been painting mountains, and I was thinking, well, how I do it is I do so much pen painting, and I still like that, and that's my style. So I'm not going to change, but I want to mix it up some just to push myself creatively. So the way I could do this is the way I do my normal mountain ranges. I could just draw the mountain range, and they look fine if I just drew a little mountain range here like this, especially the Appalachians. It came in like that, and then of course I could get my a little brush here. I could go in here, and I could go. They're called the Appalachians because they sell apples. No, they're called the Blue Ridge in most cases. And so take a look at this. So I'm going in here, and I can just do this, and I can let that line just sort of dissolve away. And so those are good little mountains. Nothing wrong with that. But every now and then you get into a situation where it's, you kind of go, it's rote. That's the way I always do it. And so I hadn't really painted mountains with a palette knife. And so I decided that I would start. And so I thought, well, how's this going to work? And so I thought, could it work like this? Could it work like that? Could that be the mountaintop? See that? And if I trace that, that'd be a great little mountaintop. So why don't I just lay that down? So I go to my butcher's tray, and I grab a little bit of green and some blue. And I touch that over there. I don't want that yet. And then a little bit of gray on there too. Just put some gray on there, a little more green. A little more of this blue. So and it's not holding out real well because it's watercolor. So you're not going to be able to slide this like you would with oil paint or something. But I want enough on there to slide down, and maybe a little touch of brown, or maybe just right on this back tip right there. So there's what my knife looks like. See that? Just a little bit of paint laying on there. It's got some gray in it. It's got a little bit of blue. It's got some green. Got a little darker green. It's all there, just packed in. I'm going to lay it just like the mountain goes right here. And then I'm going to press down, and I'm just going to drag it over. And I'm not trying to press through the paper. I'm just going to let it go as it starts to go. Look, I'm just going to take it down like this. And I got a lot of green in there. Now I'm going to use some water now. I'm just going to bring in some water from my palette knife. I just literally dip my palette knife into there, and I come back this way. And I'm going to put another little swirl up there like this. cut down. Okay, so now I have this mountain range that had no sketch to it other than my eye being the sketch factor that said, let the knife go this way or let it go that way. Now I'm just going to reach in here and I'm going to put some pine trees in there. So I'm going to grab a little bit of just brown here and I'm going to come in and I'm just going to take the edge of this and I'm just going to come down like this. Just on wet, let that come out here. If that's too much water and it's running across on this, and I'm gonna do this on a piece of cold press for you also, so you can see the difference. Maybe this is a little bit, maybe this is just a little bit of a lake shimmering. So let's put some water out here. And there we go. This is a mountain lake. The reason it's a mountain lake is because here's the lake and up there's the mountain. Got it. See how that works. Okay, so every now and then I'll come in and clean this off, but I'm not worried about cleaning it off too much. I want a little bit of shoreline right in here. So grab a little bit of, just reach over in there, get whatever falls, cut that back, create a little shoreline. I think it needs a little more blue. Needs a little blue like this and some blue like this. Now I'm going to show you another trick. You ready? Here's my other trick. All right. So that's a start. Not bad, huh? For a palette knife. And I just turned it and I can take it and put anything I want. I turn it this way, maybe put some greener trees right in here. Here now, just some little greenery right in here. Just kind of cross that over a little bit. Come down. Can always come back in and just touch a little bit on the edges here. And so I'm just painting with the edge of my palette knife to make these trees into trees. You see that? They're all taking a little, I've done a little tree line. You get it? Tree line. All right, what's this? Now I also have this little palette knife sometimes if I want to come in and just grab a little extra blue right on the edge of it and just come in and whip it along the bottom just like this. And so, look, I'm not skilled at this. I'm just doing it so you can go like, dude, if that dude can do it with those big old, clubs for hands, we ought to be able to get in there and create something. And so that's kind of fun, and that's kind of how I see this thing coming. I can bigger tree here, and now I got this little, I'm going to put a lot of green on these trees. Take this little tip and come in like this. I think you can see what I'm doing there. All right. Now let's come in here. Now I want to tie some of this blue together. So watch what I've done. And I saw Joe Miller, before he went home to Jesus, do this. And he said a lady, a sister from a convent, had shown this to him, and he wanted to give her all the credit. And she said, nope, you show people how. So this is a bigger knife. You see this one? Okay. Of course it is, right? But look at the back of this one. It looks like it's got a little bit of gravy on it. Here's what I did. I took a piece of Velcro, and not the knobby part, but the more of the pile type, the softer type that has stickum on it. And the little Velcro tape, I laid it out, and I just stuck, if this is the Velcro tape, and this is the soft part, and it's sticky on the bottom. I just put this on it like that, and I pressed it down, cleaned it off really well, made sure it was dry, and stuck it on there just like that. So when I pull it up, it's got this, and then I take my scissors and I trim it in the shape of the knife. So now, now I wet it just a little bit, and I have this crazy paintbrush that paints like this. What? That's impossible. Nope. And now I can take some of this up there, put a little periwinkle in there, and come in, and I can do my sky with that too. And I can actually create some clouds with this stratus. So put it in there, come in there. Let's put a little, it's maybe the sun's coming up that morning. There it is right there. And I just roll it across here like this. And so, then I'm going to come in there and wipe some of that out, create a little bit of a look in the clouds. There. So see, I'm starting to make this little abstract mountain drawing. Why do I do that? Well, I live in the mountain. I lived in the mountains. I grew up in the mountains. I have loved the mountains. And it made me thinking about, as much as I love the Tetons, the most majestic mountains I'd seen, even flying into Zurich and being in, there's something about those mountains is just you're going across Antelope Flats and then boom, 6,000 feet. You're going like, what? And so for me, that blew my mind. But I remembered the warmth and the delicacy and even the ruggedness, but the warmth also of the Appalachians that I spent so much time in and walking and picking up sticks and whittling. And so anyway, so that gives you a little idea of what you can do with a couple palette knives, okay? So look, real simple, one stroke. This was one stroke. I went like this. And everyone's going to be different. And look what happened here, where I had a little dark over here, and I started just skipping my way off. I just left it. I'm not going to go back and try to do anything else to this. This was the first one I did. I wish I'd have done this one as your demo. It's look at you, you're like, whoa, who painted that? I'm going like, well, I did, but it was just one stroke. I had a little bit of blue, a little bit of gray, a green, a little yellow in there, and I just went like this. Look, it matches perfectly. So give one a shot. This is one I did when I opened up the show. Take a look, had a little red in there. I love that. So these are rough little things that you might want to do. There's your little demonstration today. Start with some that you don't have to pay a fortune for. Run down to Michael's and just buy like a little set. Maybe these 3 in a set or something like that for, I don't know, 10 or 12 bucks, and then give it a shot if you want to try that. Okay? All right. A little sip of tea, and let me move off to the next thing. Let me say a little. Started a journal when I went to New York City a couple years ago. I'm still working on it, but now my memories are getting fuzzy. Use a fuzzy brush, and you'll be all right. Miss Carla, you're funny. Go back and look at a couple pictures if you took some. If not, let me tell you what to do. Let's say you wanted to work backwards. Watercolor, who says you had to start tomorrow? I do my journals when I'm there, but I finish them. And remember, I don't paint everything on location. I'll start doing a rough sketch. Like when I did the waterfall, which is not a great waterfall, but it reminds me. When I did this waterfall right here, this is called Hidden Falls in the Tetons. You go across Jenny Lake on a boat, and you hike up a half a mile, which is 2.5 miles. The government says it's a half a mile. Isn't that I've used that old joke with you guys. This is how they estimate crowds that were. Well, you know how many people were at that convention? Between 2,000 and 5,000. How many? 23 people. That's between 2,000 and 5,000. You see, so it's about a half a mile or so. It's about a half a mile or so. So anyway, it felt like 20 miles. But when I was standing there, I had a piece of drawing paper with me. And so I said, you know what? I had my pen with me, and I thought, this pine really wasn't here. There was a lot of trees, but I saw this pine somewhere else, same place. And I put this pine, well, that pine was there because I painted this other tree somewhere else. I have to find the other one I did. There it is. This pine wasn't here, but I loved it as a page break. This was a pine that I saw on this trail. These pines were like 100 feet tall and just skinny little guys. I mean, felt like you could what happened to you? So not being a waterfall painter, I just did a quick little, here's the mountain, here's the tree line. I saw this rock that had slid off here, and I got these rocks. This is how it looks if you take a photograph. Because then what I did was I went with my phone, and I kept it. And we stood there, people were coming in, and people were blocking us because they're standing there getting their selfies done or doing their selfies. And so I moved around a little bit until I had myself a sketch. And I sat down next to a lady, and she looked over and she said, "Are you going to sketch that?" And I said, "Well, some people would call it that. Some would say I'm doing a journal." And she said, "I live only an hour from here, and I hike up here. When this park's open, I hike up here about once every 2 weeks for sure." And I go, "No kidding." And she says, "This is my favorite place." And I said, "Well, no wonder." It was about 90 degrees and you were feeling the mist come off the falls. And she said, "My husband and I come here." And she said, "I taught art at school forever. And I don't know if I've ever done a journal like this." And I said, "You're the very person who should. Take a couple pictures when you get home. Remember it." And so then the next morning when I sit down for coffee, I had my reference sketch, and then I had my photo, and I had the outline of the tree, because I'd transferred some over, but I had to had to catch a boat to get back. And so then I sat down and I just worked from my sketch. So here's the thing. Let's say you don't have photos. Guess what you do have? You have somewhere on the internet now, there's these great shots of New York where you visited. And so you can just go in and find that building and you can do a little piece of it. And you can say, I was there. This was somebody else's shot. It's okay. It's not like it's still in your hand. You see, I want you to do that. And so when I painted in this journal, when I painted let's see, when I painted the geyser at where the crows are flying around, then I think some of you saw this. I wanted to have it taller, but I wanted something else below it. I didn't want one page to take up the whole geyser. I wanted to break that page up. Don't ask me why. Just keep to me while I'm sitting at breakfast that morning. And I'd started this painting. I'd worked on the buffalo, and then I thought geyser's going to go here. And so I roughed out a little line thinking, first thing you think is you made a mistake. You should have put that here so you could have the geyser exploding upward, right? Because you didn't start in the right place, you knucklehead. You started up here. Bad page placement. Then I thought, no, I'll just reach back in my other journal, which is the same paper as this, in my regular moleskin. I had one of those with me. I just took my knife and chopped it off, and I laid it behind here, and I drew the thing on it, took some white glue, which you can find in any hotel, and I just drew the rest of it like this, that folds back. And now I have my own pop-up book, which remind me, pop-up book, I'm telling you this on purpose, it reminds me of another story. Okay, so I kept traveling. I thought, I want a palette knife to try some of this sometimes, and I wanted to do that. So all that's coming to my mind. I'm traveling on down the road. When I get to Winter Park, I'm walking down the street in Winter Park. And these folks sent me a note yesterday on Instagram, which I appreciate. Moonfrog people, I loved your coffee shop. Man, it blew my mind. It's right there in Fraser, Colorado, or in Winter Park, just up the street from Fraser. It's fabulous. It's called the Moonfrog because the guy who owns it, his father created a thing for NASA that collects space dust. And if you go right now, after the show, if you want to, you go to a place and you say NASA Frog. Google it, write this down, and after the show, look at NASA Frog. And in the liftoff of the rocket, there's a enlarged dust around it, and you see this little frog. It's just like this right here that I've done, this little bitty frog. And so he said, in honor of my dad, this coffee shop that I bought had a bad name, and I wanted to change it, but I just called it Moonfrog. And so I just drew a little frog sitting on a cup. Anyway, outside were some of the most beautiful flowers. And look, these are done really quickly on this paper. Hard to do. Too much paint on these for sure. But it made me think. I photographed a poppy that was the coolest, best looking poppy I've seen ever. And I know that's not true, but you could almost see through part of it, and yet the reds and the oranges were just unbelievable. And I thought, that's just a wicked hard flower to paint. So I came home, and that got me going from there. So that's Red Rocks, and that's the end of it. And anyway, what a fun project to do. Started off by just saying, wow, look at the heavens declare the glory of the Lord. Look what he did. He's a pretty good sculptor, too. These mountains just blew my mind. Mike Paramore, I saw your painting. And this is just a quick pen sketch. And then over a cup of tea that afternoon, I finished it going da-da-da-da-da-da-da. One of my favorite things is this little buffalo that's right in there. Nobody can see him but me. And I love stuff like that just happens. This becomes part of my story. And then the people that I connected to, if you got close on this, you'd see several things. One, you would see a little carabiner. Here it is right here. There's a little carabiner all through here in different places where I connected with people. The first was Mike and Sharon Pfizer, that we were on this boat together. I didn't draw the people on the boat, don't need to. And I was sitting there, and so a piece of paper fell out of my bag as I was getting some water, and it had a little sketch on it. And they said, what are you doing? And I said, well, I do this, and da-da-da-da. That led us to a long conversation, and that led us to how I learned to paint. And I said, well, I was in Washington staying at the Watergate Hotel, and he looked at me like, Watergate? And I said, yeah, there was a guy that, you remember Chuck Colson? He said, oh yeah. And I said, well, I traveled with Chuck Colson for 3 years, and he and his wife just stopped and looked at each other, and they went, what? And I said, well, I wasn't one that broke in to the Democratic Convention, but I traveled as a singer, songwriter, goofy guy with Chuck, and I'd open up the audience and tell a story or two, and then he would come in and speak. And sometimes he wouldn't want to go speak at high schools, and I could speak it out with high school folks. And so we became friends, and I said then I became close to Prison Fellowship. Then I went to a couple prisons with him, and they both looked at each other again. I said, have I said something wrong here? And they said, no, we just started training for this thing we're going to do in prisons. And I think it's like a 10-month training that they're going through. And I go, man, I'm so proud of you people. So I'm staying in touch with them. So those are the stories that come out of this connection. Connecting with community and finding story is what it's about. Maybe you need to broaden your circle. We went through this last summer when I said, what's your circle look like? Is your circle like this? Or is it like this? Is it even like this year? That's 2 or 3 people. If you think of this as a target, then these are the people that you live with every day. And then here's a couple people that you see at the grocery store. And then who are these people out here that you probably haven't connected with, but maybe you should? What are they connected with? If you're Chip, my friend Chip, you become the muffin man, and you make quiche and muffin tins, and you make chocolate chip fudge filled muffins, and you take them over and you connect with these people, and then they connect you with this person and this person. Before you know it, you didn't know this person was an artist. Do you see what I'm talking about? Increasing your circles. If you want to give art away, if you want to sell art, you've got to increase your circle. Nobody else is going to increase it for you. Do you hear me? Nobody else is going to do that. You have to do it. All right. I stand at the art club in my village. I started first organizing meeting at 13 people. I think that's fantastic. People need other people. Hey, that sounds like a musical. People need people. I'm going to love to go back through these and see some of your cuts. I want to move on this morning, or some of your comments. I love it, love it, love it. Think in shapes and not details. Jason, you got it exactly. And that's hard for an architect to say. Miss Carla, let's see. Sue Kane, saying hi to someone. Okay, let's see. Ruth Fulton Zone. From the sunny fields of Ireland, sunny green fields. Okay, so Ruth, can you imagine what it would be like to paint Ireland with a palette knife? Ooh, that'd be awesome. I got to come and do that someday. Never been to Ireland, never been to Scotland. Okay, so here's what I did. So Jason and I were talking about painting in journals, and he noticed when he's sitting in New York, and he's got this journal open to a page or two, and I noticed this at breakfast when I sit down and start painting something or writing something, people would go, what are you doing? And I say, I'm keeping up with my trip. And they go like, oh my gosh, doesn't that take forever? And I go, well, I don't have forever. I just have 7 days here. So I'm doing some photos as I go, and then I'll catch up tonight a little bit with a cup of tea, and I'll just do little snippets. I just want little snippets. I want thumbnail sketches. And so that's what I want. And I'm not worried about, I'm not trying to win an art award. I'm just trying to tell the story. This story right here, when I see this trout inside this in Saratoga Hot Springs, Wyoming, it makes me laugh, because the reason is because Jack Fulkerson, who, I'm just going to tell you what they called him. They called him G-string, and I don't know why. But he wasn't completely right with himself. I know that. And he was a supply hauler for the local saloon in Saratoga Springs, Hot Springs. And so he carries in some supplies one morning, and he's waiting on the people to get there to help him unload. And it's a hot day and nobody's showing up. This is how the story goes. And he just gets tired of waiting, and he goes, I'm just tired of this. I'm going to just cause a ruckus. And he gets a couple sticks of dynamite, and he lights them, and he throws them off the bridge into the river. Kaboom. I'll wake this town up. Kaboom. And it not only caused a ruckus and did some damage to the stream bed, but it blew trout out of the stream onto the street. And when the people came out, they weren't even mad at him, because kind of everybody knew Jack Fulkerton was a wild man in his own right. I don't know whether they helped him unload or not, but I'm assuming if you reach back over into that wagon, they're going, hey, we'll get this stuff out of your hands. But they have a sign that's cut with plasma on the street, and it says, where the trout leap into the street, Saratoga, Wisconsin. And I love it. And so it's not even in color. It's just cut out of plasma steel, and they're hung from the street post. And I love this sign. And so I sketched that, and it made me want to draw a fly. And then I went in to see Trisha's studio, and we had a great talk. And Little Lily's ice cream, and now she's an artist that she has a bee and a dragonfly, and I taught her how to paint a bee. And then Carol bought this bracelet there. So see, I have all these memories on this one little thing right here, and that's why I want you to do this. Okay, so Jason was pulling this out, and he noticed that people come up and they want to find out. And I said, you know, people say, hey, are you going to sell that? And I go, no, I can't sell you my journal. It's my memory of the trip, but I can sell you a piece of it if you wanted one. So I came back and I started painting flowers this week. And Jason and I were talking. And I said, Jason, what if you had some watercolor paper? I'm going to open this up just a smidge here. Okay, let me see if I can refocus. A lot of talking here, but this is about new ideas at the end of the summer, trying to get you inspired. Got time to paint something. All right, here we go. So I said, what if you took a piece 24 inches long, okay, like this, and you cut it down 6 inches wide, and then you just folded it like that accordion fold. There it is right there. There it is. And then in my case, I'll lay it down on the table, and I'll lay an anvil on it, maybe another anvil, and put this one over here, or put this one down, and then I'll start to paint something here. And I'll paint it, and then I'll think, what would look... The other thing is, Jason, if you get the skyline of New York and you painted it across here, if I did my mountain range across here, if I did the buffalo out here, which I might do this on this one, I might do the Tetons on this, so that it's on your coffee table, and you go, oh my gosh, look, there's the Tetons, and here the buffalo, and they're all in these little areas. And so I can just... I'm going to hold it from my face here. I can just hold it like this, and I have this great view of what's happening on this piece of art. Isn't that cool? And so I know you've done this before. You're probably thinking, oh, wow, he's getting into craft class now. But let me show you what happened to mine when I did it. I took a piece of paper like this, and I folded it up. And then I just drew a poppy on it, like so. Okay, so here's a poppy. And I'm trying to use less paint. And I did if I'm going to use less paint, and what I wanted was a poppy that wasn't necessarily painted with pencil around it, and so I could come in with some yellow underneath, and I could come in like this. And then while it's still wet, I might come in and grab some red. And you know what this red is called? Poppy. Yeah, it's red poppy paint. I actually had it over there and didn't remember that I had it. And so I'm thinking, I wonder what red I should use. I'm over there filling up my other thing, and I go, oh my gosh, I have a red that's called poppy. But I've got some darker red in here too. You can see the poppy red here. Here's the other one. So I'm putting the darker red in there also. But I'm also going to go and grab this. And grab this. I'm going to just grab a little bit of, maybe a little bit of purple. Oh, you know what happened there? There's a little bit of, all right. And then I'm going to grab a little more poppy. And I want some orange to come through there, and red on red. And I started putting this in here like this. Now, I'm not going to overdo it here. I hope I don't anyway. So I'm just going to come in like this. Now, here's where you can use a dry brush. Watch this. Kind of a clean dry brush, and just make some little wipeouts in it. So you just get lines in it like this. I've been doing that. I've been learning to do this. So I'm pushing myself to learn something new. There we go. Take a look. Then what I'm going to do in here is I'm going to grab a little bit of dark, maybe a little bit of green, brown, gray, mess up. That's why this comes in handy, because this And I'm just going to punch it in here like this. Like that. So that's where it starts. And then I'll come back in, and as this dries, I'm going to grab some other spots and just bring in some of that red. Now, could I sketch this poppy? Sure. Or I could just take my little palette knife here, and I could drag those little lines in like this. And this one comes down and cuts in like this. And this one comes here. This one comes here. And this comes here. Palette knife's picking up enough paint on this to create this look of the poppy. Can you see it? I'm going to come in a little closer so you can see it better. All right, and I'm using a big brush, by the way. How about a little bit of maybe some rose or pink right in there. Maybe a little more of this bright orange right here just next to this. And some water. Don't forget water. Just let the water come in there. And that's going to spot. Okay? Come back here and get a little bit of this. Take it in there like so. Okay, then we'll come down here. Let's go in with some green. Okay. Okay, so I thought that was going to be red, and it wasn't. All right, let's put a piece out here like that. Just give us a little more life out to the outside. And then let's grab a little piece of this. Where's my palette knife again? And I'll cut this edge just like that also. Come in here. Okay, so you see where I'm headed with that. It's beginning to take shape. Look, and I'm hustling with this. When I painted mine, and I'm going to show you in a minute, I took a little longer time, but watch what I'm going to do now. I'm going to grab some green on this palette knife, and I'm going to go pretty heavy, but I'm also going to keep it kind of wet. I'm just sliding it in around here to get some green. Okay, both sides, and then I'm going to start here, and I'm going to come down, and I'm just going to start making my, and I'm just kind of letting it run out of the way a little bit, come in just a little more on its side, just a little. Just come in here, come in like this. Maybe I'll put a little cross member there, a little more water on here to just let some of that paint loosen up. And so I suddenly have painted this stem with the palette knife, and I kind of like it. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come in and I'm going to grab some of this green, and I'm just going to go right here, come over, and come over there, and I need a little bit of darker green here on this side right there like that. And then let's put a little that's a lot of paint, so I'm going to grab my cloth here, fold it up, and just go get some of that out of there. Too much. Okay, I got to remember that I picked up a number, 10 brush? Is that what this is? 10 or 12? It's a 10. I'm going like, he's painting this little bitty flower with this big old brush. Let's put a little red right in there too, just so that's got one that's being ready to bloom. I think it needs a little brown in it, just coming down here. That's not brown. There's some brown somewhere. Look, I can't find brown, and I got a whole pan full of it here. There we go. There's a little bit right there. Okay, and then let's do this, and let's come around. Now I can start this because I can start this coming over like this. A little more green on that maybe, and just some coming over. And could I paint this with a brush and it look good? Yeah. There's something about this one drugged down that it really I really like it. I don't know why that is, but I kind of like it coming down like this. And then I can come out here with a little piece, come in here with a little blue, black, brown into the ground, create the ground here with this. Here's where a fountain pen would really come in handy. I could come and get my fountain pen and pop it in with just a few lines while there's still some water in there, and it's going to fuzz up just a little bit. Okay, or I may drop water on this after the fact. Watch this. I'm going to come in here with my palette knife and just drop a little water on there and just let this ink sort of come in fused with that. Let's put a little bit of orange and purple right down in here, just mess up the ground a little bit like that. This needs some touch up right here. Doot, doot, doot. And then I come back and just add a little darker green to this as it dries. And now this is going to dry completely. I think it's going to dry really beautiful, but I'll show you what it does. I'll come back in and I feed this as it dries a little bit so I get the fumatas, the atmospheric blends of all that in there. So there's the little... All right, I'm going to lay this aside and quit on it because I'm going to show you what it turned out. Does that help anybody? Of just saying, look how fast you can turn a big old flower. Not a whole lot of color there, which is great because you can see through some poppies. You can read the newspaper through a couple of them. And if I want to go in there and take some of that out, I want them to be a little more transparent. Okay? I'm going to show you the whole piece that I did here in just a second. But I want you to see how this has been a fun thing for me. And by the way, if I want to make a leaf, poppy leaves are different than most leaves. They're a little more variegated. They have a little more of a. I don't want to mess up people who paint real flowers. But if I wanted down here, if I wanted just a couple little flowers, I'd do it like this. Let's see if I can lay that somewhere. Whoops. See if I can lay this somewhere. Here, I'll do it on my mountain scene here. I'll do it on the back of this. If I wanted a little leafy piece, I could touch some of it in two different greens, maybe a touch of a little blue in there too. And I'm going to touch my brush. Then I'm going to touch it to make a point, and then I'm going to push down on it, and then I'm going to lift it to make the other point. See that? So I'm literally doing that pretty fast. So it goes like this. I'm going to slow motion. Here's the vine coming down. I'm going to come out from here. I'm going to press down and let it widen my leaf up like this. And then I'm going to just let it walk back up and leave it like that. And then I might want to come in with a little darker and just catch one side of it a little darker. And that's kind of how I do it. So for me, it's like this. Dip, bip, 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 bip. You're going to go quicker. So instead of my leaves all just being fuzz, I'm actually giving them a little bit of a life by going, laying it down and bringing it up. And you're going to want a little more paint in your brush. See that? It's a good leaf right there. That's a good leaf right there. Okay? All right. Bunny trail. All right, let me show you how this turned out. So I took this, and instead of doing what Jason's probably doing and doing some skylines of New York and me doing my mountains and my buffalo and something like that for a fun little coffee table piece, and then I'll just wrap. Hey, and by the way, I folded this just so you can see the demo. So is it exactly right on? No, my other one's closer. But here's what it turned out as. I want you to see it, and it looks like this. Let me widen out the lens one more time here just so you can see this. Let's see if I can focus on this pen right here. Sorry, I'm using a manual focus, but this camera will jump around all over the place if I don't. All right, let me move this out of the way, and this over, and this brush out of here. Do the Charles Reed method, put that back in the holder. So here's the poppy. Here's the poppy, here's the poppy, and there's the poppy. So take a look. Ta-da! I want it to hang on the wall like this. And I don't want it to be straight. I want it to have the wrinkles in it so that you get different shadows by the way it looks. And if you take a look at this, here's the same thing that I just did on yours. I just took the palette knife and I got in here and I just wiped it like crazy. I've got two. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 3. There's 5 blooms and three seed pods. Oh no, 6, 2, 4, 6. 6 flowers and 3 seed pods, which is very symmetrical for me. Wasn't paying attention. Anyway, and this is a simple poppy up book. Hey, I think I'm gonna post this today. So if anybody's interested in this painting, it's got 2 bees on it, and they'll be numbered. And I'll put the numbers of the bees right down here. I think it's 1690 and 1691, something like that. So I think that's where they are. So there's my puppy. All right. Um, so what I'm giving you is a short way to do an accordion piece of art that might be for giveaway, might be for sale, might be someone who just says, hey, there's 3 panels there. I would do 5 or 7. I wound up with 6 here, which is a little too symmetrical for me, but I would do 3 or, and so you're thinking, wow, why was I thinking that all this had to be on the same panel? It doesn't. And that's what has helped me through the journaling to figure that out. So there you go. There's a little idea for you. And I am going to post one today, but this one is 6 by 24 inches. It's signed. I'll date the bees, and I'll put it out probably after noon today. When I get back, I'm going to buy some honey. There's your simple poppy up book. Huh? I like it. And I like it hanging up too. I think it's a cool. It's really here. Let me show you on a bigger scale here. Oh. Okay, there you go. Take a look. Maybe a little bit out of focus because I'm way back here in the dark. And so I want it to just to have a little band on it or like a clothespin, and people pick it up and go, "What the heck?" But when they put it over to the side, it kind of hangs just like this. And I like it. So cool. So good kitchen piece near the window. Not near the bright sun, though. Okay. And this is just painted on inexpensive 140-pound, I don't know, Canson or somebody watercolor from, like it's a Michael's Big Store, I think I bought it from. But I do have some 140-pound Kilimanjaro, so I'm going to do my next one on that. Yes? All right. Hey, here's that one dried a little bit. Now take a look at this poppy that I started with, and there it is on the desk right there. See, that's the one that I just did. No sketch, just started with my yellow, added my red. Guess what this one needs? Oh, yeah, I know what it needs. It needs some dark on this back side over here just to bring in life on this. Wow, it's got to be good. And then maybe another little spot of purple and red here like this. It's maybe too much purple, so I'm going to clean my brush a little bit and take some of that out of there. Look, you can lift it up. Lift a little more up. Yeah, that's good. And here, a little more here. And then a little bit down in this well here where this is dark. All right. All right, so I'll probably mess with that 2 or 3 more times because I think I really love it when the orange and the red collide on the same little panel, and it just looks like. And here's what I'll do here. I'll just take and let my brush drop a piece of water. But you'll see where I'm headed with that. Okay, ooh, I like that. And then eventually I'm going to come in here and shape this up. And I have a brush that I made. I have a little brush that I made here to paint bees with, and I'm going to use that just to go in here. And then watch this. I'm going to come in with the other end of this brush. I sharpened like a pencil. The other end of this brush I sharpened like a pencil. I'm just going to put it in the black, and I'm going to take this up and just put some. There we go. Here, let me come down and show you what this looks like a little closer now. There we go. Now we're getting there, huh? All right, a little green in here. I'm going to broaden this up a little bit. Just give it a little bit more life. See, I like that knife coming down. You just never know where it's going to go. That's a good poppy. I like it. Single poppy. Okay, by the way, this brush right here is one of Carol's oil brushes. I'm going to lay this down over here so I don't mess it up. Hold it 1 second. Oh, I think I did it. All right, this brush right here is I took one of her oil brushes. I think I showed you this once before, and I took my shop scissors and I just gave it a bad haircut like this, just by clipping it off shorter. Okay, And then I clipped into it like this, like you're clipping, like you're thinning hair. And I just made it really ragged out. You see that right there? It's just really kind of nasty looking. You can see it better over the paper. And then the other end, I shortened this brush. It's a big long brush, and I just sharpened it like a pencil. It looks like it has pencil lead, but it doesn't. And I use this brush sometimes if I'm painting. I'm going to go over just for a couple minutes here today. I'm using this brush. Watch this. I'll just punch it in right here. And when I punch it in like this, I'll do this large size so you can see it. Look at that. You already see what it is, right? Okay, now I'm going to clean that up, and then I'm going to reach in here and just use this as a pencil, and I'm going to pick up some of this black that I've got over there, and I'm going to come down and just let the legs of the bee come in here like this. And there's another one there. Another leg. You see how that just works. And I'm literally painting with the end of a pencil. This is, you can run out in the yard and get a stick if you want one. I actually brought some sticks back from Wyoming. I brought one back from the geyser, as close as I could get. Yeah, I did. And I mean, no, I didn't break any laws, and I didn't want to be blown up by the thing anyway. But off to the side, I found this stick. And I brought it back. Here's one. I'm going to take this out of the stick right here. This one's right from Old Faithful, which he wasn't that faithful. He didn't come on time. And I'm going to take this centerpiece out. You see where it's split right there? See where that's split up? I'm going to take that out, and I'm going to put maybe a brush like this in there. So this is going to be my designated bee punch brush. This one is from the waterfall and canyon waterfall, Yellowstone Canyon waterfall, way up in there, Canyon Falls. And I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I think I'm just going to make a dip pen out of that. And this one came from the Artist Paint Pots, which is another geyser where the mud flats or mud pots are. And so I found it on the trail and just walked down the trail and started whittling it smooth. So these are my 3 sticks from Yellowstone that I'm going to make brushes out of. So now what I'll do is I'll just grab a little bit of the yellow. And once this dries, it would work a whole lot better. But you know me, right? I don't have time. I do. I'm just not taking it right now. And I think I'm going to take it. But you get the idea of where I'm going with that. And I could also take this and dip it in the gray and start right here and paint the wings with this too, with the same. And that's not graphite. That's gray paint. I'm going to get a little brown on there too and just come up with some brown. There we go. So that gives you a little idea of how I use this brush sometimes when I'm painting a bee. I just made myself a bee brush. All right. It's about time for me to go. I want to say one more strong word about community. So if you got a minute, stay with me. It's from one of my favorite books. Let me tell you what I'm doing. I'm going to have an auction coming up soon. I've got a bunch of fishing flies. Holy smokes. I've been painting them in this little journal right here. Boom, 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 boom. Some of these are, they're some of my favorites because I'm painting them in a different way. And I'm learning, and these are not anybody's flies, they're mine. I have a whole handful of art that I'm going to move on. I don't need it. If you can give it for gifts and all, it'll go at a good price on the auction. This is called The Reflective Life by Ken Geyer, and let me just share a little bit of it with you here just for a second. I want to share some from page 19. And it made me think of your circle and connecting with people. So if you have another minute, hang with me. And here we go. How much of creating is about being intentional on our part? Hey, you in coffee shops. Yeah, man. We hit some, huh? Bee punch brush. Yeah, I love that name. My dad had a bee brush, and that was for brushing the bees off of the flats before he put them in the extractor, when we were doing honey. But this is my bee punch brush. So, all right. This is called The Reflective Life. His name is Ken Geyer. This book was written probably in the 90s. 98. How about that? There's a book by a guy named Thomas Seton, Seton. It's called The Gospel of the Red Man. and it's not inappropriate. It's not PC correct. It has nothing to do with that. But he was a white man who lived among Indians. He lived among the Native Americans, and he wrote insightful perspectives on their culture and who they were and what they did and how they opened up their life every morning. And this blew my mind in this book. And I have written it here. It says onion on page 19, and that's how I find it so fast. And if I underlined everything in the book that I loved, the whole book would be underlined. But for me, I just do this in all my books. So if I look at the shelf, I go, oh, I know right where that is. Sometimes I'll be talking to somebody and they'll say, wait, but so-and-so said, I said, wait a minute, I got that in the book and I can find it. He says, basically the culture of the civilization and us suburbanized white people as we know it, and I'm a white man, or anyone who's born in America and lives in America, or even in any race. And this is basically, it's how much I've acquired. It's how famous I am. I'm thinking about I'm watching the Olympics and I'm going like, I love the fact that Katie Ledecky is as good as she is, and my granddaughter has a swimming cap from Katie Ledecky. And so, yes, I love that people are that amazing. But I'm going to be sad for her if that's all there is to her life, because if she gets older, she's still going to have millions of dollars. That's not my point. My point is, will she have what brings her purpose and meaning, and that's other people. And so the culture of us is how much do I have and how much have I acquired. But the Indian, the red man culture is not measured by success, but it's of how much service have I rendered to my people. And I'm going like, whoa, who's Ken and where does he live? He lives in Texas. So I've read probably 5 or 6 of his books. I leafed through the yellow pages and I stopped at this illustration, and here it is. And I may have told it on the show before, but I'm going to go over it today and I'm going to tell you this story. And it's called The Onion Seller. In a shady corner of the market in New Mexico, there's an old Indian, and his name is Potolama. Potolamo. Potolama. And he has 20 strings of onions hanging in front of him. A guy is visiting there in this south of the border village, and he comes up in the market that morning. Like when you go to the market, Carol, I love going to the market, and there's all these strings of onions hanging. He says, how much are your onions? And he says, 10 cents. You mean a string of onions is 10 cents? Yes, sir. He says, how about 2 strings? He goes, 20 cents. He goes, how about 3 strings? He goes, 30 cents. And he goes, so, I come from the United States, and so sometimes when we buy more of something, we get it for a better price. So what if I bought 4 strings of onions? He goes, 40 cents. He said, what if I bought all 5 strings you have hanging there? He said, 50 cents. He said, well, there's not much of a break in that. He says, that's how much onions are. They're 10 cents a string. So if you want a string, but he says, so what if I gave you $1 for all of them hanging now? And he says, Potolama says to him, I wouldn't do that. He says, what do you mean you wouldn't do that? He said, I would not sell to you, because there's no way that you traveling, or even if you're going home today, could use that many onions. That's a waste. So I'm not going to sell you my onions for that. And so the guy's kind of thinking, this is different. This is not commerce at all. This is strange. And he says, well, I don't understand why you wouldn't sell. So Potolama says, because here's why. Aren't you here to sell your onions? The American said. And he goes, no, that's part of why I'm here, but that's not the only reason I'm here. You see, if you're at an art pop-up shop and people say, hey, I'll give you $5 for this, and you go like, okay, or no, or I'll give you $300 for this. You go, no, you don't understand. Aren't you here to sell art? Not necessarily. I'm here to connect with people. You see, what's going to happen, says the Indian, is this. I'm here for my life. I love this marketplace, and I love the crowds and the red serpes, and I love the sunlight and the waving palmetto trees. And I love when Pedro and Luis come by and they say, Buenos dias, and they talk about the babies and the crops. And I love to see my friends. And that is my life. And for that, I'll sit here all day and I'll sell my 20 strings of onions. But that I would sell all of my onions to one customer, then my day is ended. And I have lost my love for life, and I will not do that. I've lost the life that I love, he says. And he says, I thought about this for a lot, Ken says. I heard this story, I read the story, and I thought about it for a lot. And then he said, wow, I've been messing up here. I've been missing something out. And here's what it is, that commerce, the sale, always needs to follow the community. What a great story. The Indian every morning would go out and he would walk down to the water's edge. His teepee always faced the east. Look it up in history. And he would splash cold water on his face, and he would stand there and he would appreciate the day and welcome the sun. And he would say, wow. Sometimes his wife, his partner, would come and do that, but never together. He had his time of being alone as in the waking of the day. How are you waking up and seeing your day and going like, what a privilege I have to make art. I'll get better at it if I keep making it. If I love it. If I don't love it, go do something else. Crochet or do stained glass or learn to whittle or carve or write songs or be a poet or just go and serve other people. All those things have to be involved in community. So this story goes on and on. And so for that, I am grateful for you guys. No kidding. This is not just a song and dance. I wouldn't do this for almost coming up on 4.5 years if I didn't love it so much. I love it because you're a community and we connect. And some of you will catch things and you'll go, I want to try the mountains with a palette knife and I want to give some away to my friends. And I want to fold up paper like I did when I was in the 3rd grade and I want to paint art in a different way. I want to mix it up a little bit. I haven't painted flowers well since I've started painting. So this week I concentrated on painting flowers and I got a little bit better. Not good, not Sue Kane value good, but in my style, I know what I want that flower to say, and I know what I want that flower to mean, and that becomes my community. And so that's what I wish for you. Okay, so I'm going to have an auction coming up. I'll notify you on that, and I'm also going to start back again with Good News Roo. And I'm probably not going to start until late September. But if you want to get one of the books, I'm going to go through the Gospel of Mark. And here, I'm going to throw it down on the page so you can see it. There it is right there. I'm going to go through the Gospel of Mark. And it's just a short little from the New Testament. We read the story, paint a picture. And that's kind of how it goes. And why do I paint a picture? I'm not a pastor. I'm not a seminary trained person. I'm just a person who wants to get this words like other words in my head and heart. And sometimes to do that, I draw a picture, a simple little sketch that helps me remember. That's exactly why I do my journal. So this is just a Bible journal. As a matter of fact, it's called a scripture journal. And so I thought, hey, I could write something here, but I just write the same thing that they wrote. So how do I reflect on this? And I thought, I need to reflect in a picture. So that's kind of where those are coming to when you see me do those. And so you'll see, and I haven't seen you in a couple of weeks. So that's why I'm taking a little longer here. When you see a little painting like this, and you go, well, that's just a salt shaker. Yep, just a salt shaker. But when I see a salt shaker, I don't even have to look at where this is. I know it's in Matthew 5:13 that says, salt. Salt has 44,280 something different qualities that it can bring. We just deal with 3. We come in contact with things to work. We flavor, we heal, and we persevere or preserve. All right, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start. It's called Good News Roo. You can hashtag and find some of them there if you want to see what we've been doing. And I'll start that sometime, but I'm going to do it in Mark. So those of you who want to follow along, this won't be on Facebook. It'll be on YouTube. And so it's those for those that just want to show up. I do it because it's a disciplined process for me. And I'm also getting ready to go through it with some folks here locally. And that's just going to be fun. And so I'm doing Mark. All right. Man, I kept you a long time today. Okay, Hey, I'm gonna take off, but I'm gonna come back and I'll read through your comments today and respond to some. I thank you for being a part of this. It is so much fun to always have you here. I hope it inspires you enough to be creative and stay behind the mule. Stay behind the mule, okay? Put that Hames, that strap around your shoulders, put your hands to the plow, and just keep on going and say, every day if I do this, I'll make better art. Why do I want to make better art? Because I'm going to share it with my community. Some of it I give away. I gave away almost 30, I think 29 or 30, 28, 29 paintings when I was in Wyoming and traveling across the country in Colorado. It's probably turned out to more than that now because I mailed a couple away. That I just had their contacts, gave some away on the plane, and I sold some. So I sell art. So thank you. And I'm going to post the poppies today. And so when I get back this afternoon and start answering some, I'm going to post this. So it's coming to you. And I may start it at 8:57, and I may not. Blessings to you all. I appreciate you. Thank you for having Roost Crew too, because I love seeing work out there. I love seeing what you're learning. All right, carry on. I'm out of here like a herd of turtles.